Hey, welcome to my second channel where I'm going to be talking about Mickey 7, the book, translated into Mickey 17, the movie. I'm going to preface this video by saying that I didn't like either the book or the movie, but I did like certain aspects of both, so let's just get into it. Hey, what's new, everyone? I'll tell you what's new. It's Mickey 17, a movie that just released in the theater based on the book Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. I just came from the theater a few days ago having seen this movie, being one of the more anticipated sci-fi dark comedies to come to the big screen. Needless to say, I'm disappointed, so let's talk about it. First of all, let me give you a little backstory about why I wanted to see the movie in the first place. I actually read this book. During my read, I went through all the different phases of reading typical of a 2-star book: anticipation, confusion, boredom, more confusion, then just flat out rage. I wasn't impressed in the slightest, neither with the silly comedy nor the actual writing style. I can only read minor character minutiae so many times before I'm internally screaming for it to stop. In this case, gems such as, he stopped chewing and put down his fork, then picked up his fork and looked out the window. Okay, I get it. But one thing I was most disappointed in was the fact that there was a really good story, or theme, buried under all the ridiculous and lazy half-asleep sentences an editor couldn't bother to help with. So I had no idea there was a movie being released about the book, and directed by none other than the legendary Bong Joon-ho. I thought, hey, maybe this story could be done some great justice through the eyes of the man behind Snowpiercer and Parasite. So I booked my ticket and waited for the day I'd see an interesting theme that was muddled to death with inconsistencies, irrational behavior, and a clone threesome. Yes, I'll get to that. Between the pages. So I've never given the big screen the finger, but in my defense, it deserved it. Boy, oh boy, was it bad. Where the author failed, in my opinion, is the lack of exploring the wider themes of the story. Where the director failed is the lack of exploring the wider themes of the story, while simultaneously injecting pandering, comically over-the-top villains, and a character that didn't even exist and no one wanted. This would be the villain's wife, played by the marvelous Toni Collette. I love her, but this role did her no favors. From here out, I'm going to go into some spoiler territory, so if you haven't read the book or seen the movie and don't want the story to be ruined for you, just tune out now, come back when you've seen it or read it, Mickey 7, whatever. If you have Kindle Unlimited, the book is is on there now, so take advantage of that while you can, or just go to the library, whatever. Okay, now that that's out of the way, I'm going to go do my best to superficially examine what I best remember from the book. So please forgive me if I get specific details wrong, but I do remember the major points, so I'm sticking with those for now. The story follows Mickey Barnes, a man who volunteered for the expendable position on the next colonization mission to a planet named Niflheim, which, according to Norse mythology, is the icy realm of hell. So it's fitting, I'll give it that, but with no Odin or Thor, it's just another name drop in an insignificant book. Anyway, the expendable is a person who's willing to go through the hardcore rigors of colonizing the new planet with the risk that comes with it: potential death. However, in this world, 30 years in the future, there exists a technology allowing scientists to download and upload a person's memories, then print a clone of said person. That means if Mickey dies, he's reprinted and his memories uploaded into the new body. On this premise alone, there are so many ways one could explore the implications of cloning, souls, ethics, and more. The book even has a cult of naturalists that believe expendables to be abominations, which, tragically, their presence doesn't make their appearance in the movie in the slightest. In fact, Marshall, who we'll get to later, is actually one of the more staunch believers in this cause. Anyway, the deeper meaning of this more complex subject is traded for comedic relief, and in the case of the movie, a parody of real-world politics with an over-the-top political leader in Marshall. who is played by Mark Ruffalo, and I should have known. Seriously, I should have known. In the book, Mickey has a friend that signed up with him on the mission named Berto, played by Steven Yeun in the movie, but for whatever reason goes by the name Timo. I don't know if it was like a race thing or whatever, because I believe Berto was Hispanic. Anyway, let's pause and talk about this guy for just a minute. While I wasn't a fan of his character in the book, the movie version of him is insufferable. There is nothing about his or Mickey's backstory that translated from book to screen. Everything about their friendship in the movie is cooked, and I found myself wishing Yoon's character would die, even if he didn't in the book or the movie. In the book, there was sort of a mystery surrounding his character. He apparently had more knowledge about what happened to the 6th iteration of Mickey than he let on, and he also left Mickey 7 to die in that cave, or in the movie Mickey 17, just like in the movie, except he was much less of a dick about it. Their friendship was more nuanced in the book, whereas in the movie, Discount Berto was a drug-peddling thug. In the movie, they both owed money to Darius Blank, whereas in the book, only Mickey did, which was his reason for leaving on the mission in the first place. The book's reason for Mickey owing money was just as stupid as the movie's, but way different. I won't get into it, but believe me when I say it's dumb. In the movie, Timo sells Mickey out to one of Blank's thugs who happened to follow them into space. I'm sorry. No, that didn't happen in the book, nor should it have happened in the movie. The absolute scum of a human was about to chainsaw Mickey, and I'm talking about Timo, his friend Berto, Timo, whatever, was about to chainsaw Mickey into pieces when the overwritten Nasha comes to the rescue. Anyway, let's just give movie Berto the stamp of disapproval. Okay, moving along, there's also the antagonist of the film, also the antagonist of the book, Marshall. In the film, he's a disgraced, 2-time losing political caricature with his army of sycophants, including his wife, who leads the efforts for Niflheim. He also does this in the book, but he's not a disgraced 2-time losing political caricature. Pause. Let's talk about Marshall. What an absolute waste of a character. My aforementioned use of the middle finger was mostly used whenever this smug face was on screen. Stupid, pointless, garbage human with veneers so thick he could barely close his mouth. Book Marshall was tough. Book Marshall was a leader. Sure, he was not a nice guy, but he had substance. Something movie Marshall did not have at all. What we ended up getting instead in Ruffalo was a whiny, narcissistic wimp, without the heat of Marshall's character in the book. One might even suggest that this was done on purpose to put a certain political figure in a bad light, if you know what I mean. Well, it didn't work. Marshall was a jerk in the book, don't get me wrong, but he made the choices based on his own logic and the logic that drives his beliefs. He doesn't like Mickey, it's very clear. However, in the movie, Marshall's beliefs aren't really brought up outside a 3-second clip of him flashing the Longhorn symbol to a crowd of reporters when talking about Expendables being of the devil. I mean, come on. The character of the wife is so unnecessary, it pains me to talk about. I can say without a doubt that Toni Collette knows how to do over the top, and she did well with what she had. I just feel like her character was wholly unnecessary, particularly during a nasty scene where she chops off the tail of one of the creepers that naturally inhabited the land, then turns it into a sauce to feed to Marshall. This chick was like obsessed with sauce for some stupid reason. It's just one of the stupidest things I've seen in a while. And of course, with the creeper angle, the movie would also go into the whole colonization bad trope we've seen a million times before. But I digress. I'll stop talking about Marshall to go over some of the things I did like about the movie better than the book. I'm going completely off script here now, so basically we have 2 Mickeys here. Mickey 18 was generated when Mickey 17 was thought to have died in that cavern. And in the book, it was, basically on Berto's word that he died in there, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so Mickey 18's character in the book is horrible, and I actually much prefer him in the movie. So they actually made a point to show why Mickey 18 was different in the movie rather than in the book. So in the book, he just talks about how hungry he is all the time. He doesn't want to do any work. He doesn't really care, yada, yada, yada. But in the movie, they turn him into like a psychopath. And I really liked that angle. I thought it was kind of cool because each iteration of him was different. Now, the thing is like you could explore those things. Like you have a clone. Is the soul there? Like what the heck? Why is each iteration a little bit different? And the whole relationship he had with Nasha was kind of sweet. And well, in both the book and movie, just because she was always there for him, no matter what iteration he was. And so anyway, I did appreciate that. The ending of the book was pretty horrible in that Mickey had this leverage against Marshall about this like super atomic bomb. I don't even know if I can call it an atomic bomb. I think there's something about it. He explains it in the book. And it didn't really make sense to me, but whatever. It could basically destroy the whole planet, which is like, why would you want to do that anyway? And Marshall instructed him to do that with the creepers. Well, he had both Mickey 17 and 18 with this particular bomb to go out and take care of these locals. And Mickey 17 bonded with the locals in, having conversations with them and stuff, which he did in the movie. I didn't like how it was executed in the book. I did prefer how it was executed in the movie. And also in the book, Mickey 18 kind of dies off the page. But in the movie, they had him basically explode himself next to Marshall. And honestly, even though Marshall doesn't die in the book, I actually kind of liked that he died in the movie. And I don't know if that's just my bias in the fact that I really hated him in the movie so much that I did want him to die. But anyway, I did appreciate that. Now, where I did appreciate the book over the movie was obviously Marshall's character. There were some other things like why he was on the planet, not necessarily in this cahoots with Timo, Berto, whatever, in this endeavor that he had landed in these, the crosshairs of this thug. Anyway, the movie version of that was just pretty terrible, but in the book, it was still terrible, but not as terrible. Lesser of two evils kind of thing. But anyway, Kat's character. So there's a character in here, they call her Kai in the movie, but her name is Kat in the book. She was the only character that was Asian, and they didn't make her Asian in the movie, which I don't understand that either, but anyway, she was much different in the book. She was friendly. She was Mickey's friend. She did discover their multiplicity and did turn them in, which I thought in the book was ridiculous. In the movie, she was a terrible person. I hated everything about her. And I can't even put my finger on it. They didn't make them, I guess they didn't really develop their friendship. She was very awkward and weird and just, she did discover them and did turn them in. But they also made her into a lesbian, which whatever, she wasn't in the book, but whatever, you want to check your box, that's fine. But anyway, so her character sucked in the movie. Her character was better in the book. I still didn't really like her much though, but either way. Anyway, so I'm probably getting really confusing here, but let me just put it this way. There are great things about the movie. There are great things about the book. There are terrible things about both book and movie. And I think if you were to take the great things and mash them together while also exploring the deeper meaning behind the cloning, this naturalist cult, and what it means to colonize these planets and whatnot, it would have just been such a better story. So ultimately, I think my takeaway in this whole thing is just justice for this story. Justice for Mickey 7. I really wish somebody could write a better story surrounding these things. So it is unfortunate that the story isn't what it could have been. It does happen to be a series. There is a sequel to this. I seriously doubt that I'm going to be watching or reading the sequel if I can't imagine that they would make a movie out of the sequel, but you never know. But I'm not going to be reading it. At any rate, that's it for today. Let me know if you watched or read the book, or watched the movie or read the book, and let me know what you thought about it. And, subscribe for more. And I also have a newsletter at ariholdingauthor.com, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.